Welcome, welcome. This is My Favorite Mortgage Podcast, and I'm Jamie Booth, a licensed loan officer in the state of Arizona and the state of Texas. This is My Favorite Mortgage Podcast, a inside look, behind the curtains look of the home buying journey and how many people it actually takes to help you get to the closing table. Today, we have a very special guest with us. We have Javier Olano.
Yes, Javier Olano. You did so good.
So close.
It was very close, yes.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
This is your first podcast.
My first one. Yes, ma'am.
That's been happening a lot lately. And I know a lot of people are nervous, but really it's just you and me hanging out.
Yeah.
We met during COVID era in real estate.
We did.
And it's just chit-chatting.
It may have been pre-COVID, too.
Was it?
I don't know. I know it was during an open house, and I know during COVID I wasn't really doing a ton of open houses.
Maybe
so
it was
may have been
pre-COVID. It's been a while.
Been a little bit. Yeah.
And we met, and you said something before we hopped on. I came in.
Yeah, you came in doing like videos and you were actually FaceTiming with a buyer, and I was like, who is this lady? Like, what is she doing? And I don't know, the realtor was like nowhere in sight, and you were doing the groundwork for them. You showed up with your husband and you were taking FaceTime tours of our open house. And then I was just like, hey, I have this other house like around the corner. And you're like, let's go see that one too. And
yes,
so
and I followed you, and the realtor was on vacation, and these were out-of-state buyers. And if you work with me, you know that I'm going to go to the ends of the earth to help you and get the deal done. And so of course I'm going to go to an open house and FaceTime.
That was the only time I've ever seen a lender do it. And to this day, you're still the only one I've ever seen do that. So that was awesome.
Well, thank you. I still continue to do it. I go out and shop around with them. And, sometimes a lot of first-time home buyers are just scared and nervous and want that extra opinion. Is this the house for me? And I provide, just a little bit of insight, second set of eyes.
There you go.
Yeah. So, Javier, how long have you been a realtor?
So I've been doing this for about 6.5 years now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And we've been asking this question with a lot of realtors. How long was it before you got your first check?
First check, it was like 5 months, I think, 5.5 months, somewhere in that range. I started in March, and then I think it wasn't until August or something that I got
your first check.
Yeah.
I think 4 months seems to be the most common, and that's where we've talked about when you get into this, you gotta have something to fall back on. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, hopefully get a second income, because it takes a while to get some conversations going, to pique that interest of buying a home, and then the process of
and for me, like, I started and I was like, I'm going to be so good. Like, I already know my tío and tía are going to sell their house down the street, and my abuelita's looking for a house. Like, I'm going to be hitting the ground running on this thing. And then my tío and tía ended up selling with like Help You Sell or something. Like, it was like
they didn't even use you.
Yeah, and because they had already like kind of started the process,
Gotcha.
and then they used actually one of the people who was on my old team. They used him to help to buy, and so I was kind of like a mentee on that, where I kind of learned the deal a little bit. So that was cool. But then my abuelita was already working with somebody, and it's my grandmother. She ended up buying a house with somebody else too. And I was like, okay, great. Here I am thinking I'm going to hit the ground, like ready to go. And then it takes me 5 months to actually get one on my own, fully on my own.
And it broke your heart.
Yeah. So that happens too, but it's all good. Here we are 6 years later.
And you're still killing
rolling,
it.
So
too.
We're good. And I helped my abuelita buy a house, her next house. So
that's good.
That's good.
So she
made up
she
for
wanted to make sure you knew what you were doing first.
Yeah, I can't blame her. That's probably a good call.
Well, we like to start with a little game. We've been tossing around everything from Realtor Mad Libs to Smash or Pass, and we wanted to see if you would play Would You Rather.
Yes, I will play that.
Okay. All right. So I wrote a few last night just thinking about current events. Would you rather hit the Mega Millions or live forever?
Mega Millions, 100%.
What's it like?
Yeah. That was easy.
1.5 billion.
I saw somebody in like Florida just won that thing. Like,
Oh, they won it?
Yeah, one solo ticket won it. I think it was in Florida.
Oh,
yeah,
of course.
So I guess that person's set.
A man in Florida.
Yeah. 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 Have you seen that? You Google your birthday and the man in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's always a man in Florida.
Story every day.
Yeah. I mean, living forever kind of sounds great, but then, yeah, I want to hit that Mega Millions.
Yeah.
Would you rather be able to see in the dark or see 1 hour into the future?
I would see in the dark. I'm not really trying to see into the
In
future.
the future.
I don't mess with that. I'm just dealing with what I got in front of me right now.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't even be like night vision scene. You would just be able to see. In the dark.
And honestly, I have no need for that, but I'm not that messing with the future. I'm dealing with what I got, and I'm gonna let God handle the future for me. So
Very nice. Good. Well said. Well said. Would you rather have a buyer pre-qualified with Veterans United or pre-qualified with Jamie Booth?
Oh, Jamie Booth, 100%. Yeah, easy.
No shade, but come on. Working with a local lender is
There's nothing like it. There's so many horror stories when you deal with people who aren't local and know what's going on here in the market. And when you have someone here and actually knows what they're doing and knows what they're talking about, the process, it just makes such a big difference. So
Plus, Veterans United doesn't have a lender to go do FaceTimes.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for that. And just to touch on that, why, in your opinion, do you think that it has such a weight when you're working with a local lender versus an online or out-of-state lender?
Well, I think you have that personal connection. Like, you know who you're working with. I know I can text you. I know I can call you if I have something come up. Whenever you're dealing with someone who's out of state, they're, 9 to 5 maybe, and then it's East Coast time, and then they don't work weekends, and then it takes them forever to respond to emails or texts or calls. Like,
So frustrating.
I've had so many issues with communication, and I think that's such a huge part in what we do is having a good, strong communication throughout the process. And when you're working with someone out of state who maybe you don't know, you're kind of risking it.
It's
With
50-50, you're going to
Exactly.
close on time and have a smooth process.
And this is a big deal. This is typically the biggest deal of people's lives, and you don't really want to leave it up to chance on that type of thing.
Right.
You want the sure thing. So
Yeah.
local is the way to go for sure.
Well, thank you. I completely agree. And I wanted to bring you on today because you had posted a video on social media, and I was either just experiencing this with another client, but your video was so impactful, and I preach this, where you want to go into a new build home, and you posted about the final inspection. And when I'm not sure if buyers or listeners are aware of this, when you drive by a new build lot and you go up to the sales center, if you don't have your realtor with you and you log in and sign in, you've essentially waived your rights to representation.
Right. Most of them, they'll have it plastered on their front door. Like, if you don't have your agent with you, then too bad, so sad. Yeah.
Don't step foot. You call your realtor. Hey, can you meet me at XYZ Builder? I want to go check out these houses. If you don't do that and you walk in, even just to browse and look, you have signed your rights away for representation.
Right.
So it's so important, especially in today's building kind of catastrophe, I want to say, with how there was shortage of lumber, shortage of good workers, shortage of parts, where if you don't have that realtor representation, you are on your own with a builder.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about, describe a blue tape walkthrough. What is that And why is that so important to have a realtor with you for that?
Sure. Yeah. So the blue tape walk, or some call it like an orientation walkthrough, depends on which builder that you're with. It's your opportunity to go before the house is completed and kind of put blue tape at certain areas that have maybe cosmetic issues or problems that you find. And it's your time to be very detailed in your walkthrough, and just having that extra set of eyes who has been there and done it before. It makes such a huge difference. The video that you're talking about, actually, we were at a new build, and we're doing this walkthrough, and everything was, all good. And we had the builders, like the construction supervisor there with us doing it, and we'd kind of breezed through the house a little bit.
And this is the blue tape, like the painter's blue tape.
Painter's blue tape. Yeah, I literally go and buy some, and I keep it in my car because I just want to stay ready. Because sometimes builders can be a little stingy with their tape, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I see a little bit more than what you're seeing. So yeah.
Home
so
Depot
I keep my own tape on me. Yeah. Gotta stay ready.
So then when you're putting the blue tape on, it's visible because you got lighter color wall. Okay.
Exactly.
So just regular old blue painter's tape.
Blue tape. You stick it on there. Some of them, if it's like a drywall thing, they like you to throw an X on the wall.
Okay.
So you can differentiate between like a paint cosmetic touch-up versus like an actual drywall type of touch-up thing. But yeah, it's a walkthrough that you definitely want to be there for in person if you can be, or have a realtor there with you or for you if you can't be here. Sometimes we do it with out-of-state people who can't be there. But you definitely want to take advantage of that, because that is your opportunity to go through and make sure that the house is up to your standards.
Okay. And in this particular instance, you're breezing through.
It was all good. And then we like took a little extra time because the construction supervisor's like, I think we're all good. I'm going to go ahead and take off. And we're like, do you mind if we just stick around? I think I saw some other stuff that we want to check out.
Okay.
And then I'm going through the master bedroom, and then I get to the closet, and I see this like white thing sticking on the wall. And I'm like, what is that? Did we miss that? So I went to go put a tape, and it's wet and slippery. And I'm like, that is ice. Yeah, there's ice coming through this wall.
And it's 100 degrees here, guys. Let's just put that in perspective.
Exactly. I was like, no way. Like, how does this happen? And the AC condenser is on the other line, and apparently there was some sort of issue. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was an issue. We called the guy back right away. He came over and was like, okay, yeah, they ended up having to cut out the entire wall, redoing the issue. They had a mold inspector come to test and see if there's any mold, because there's moisture there, and it was like a whole thing. And if we hadn't stayed there and kind of been super thorough, even just checking underneath like the shelving in the master closet, we could have missed it. That could have been there.
Plus, it wasn't like a visible color.
Exactly.
It was just something that caught your eye.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
It was
so the
nuts.
whole wall was like a block of ice.
It was it was just like a little patch. It was like pretty small, but it was something big enough to where it caught my eye, and I went over there, and they ended up cutting out a big section of the wall to make sure there was no moisture or mold anything.
And then fix the problem itself, the air conditioning maybe being too close, or the condenser. Wow.
Yeah.
And we don't really look underneath shelves in our closets.
Right.
I mean, this could have gotten really, really bad with mold or extensive moisture in 100%. The wood, and you have to dry it out, and they bring in those heavy-duty fans.
Yeah, and that's not cheap to do either. No. And then especially if we wouldn't have caught it then, and they start hanging their clothes, and then it gets hidden behind clothes, that would have just been there.
What a disaster. I'm so glad you caught that. I saw that video, and I'm like, just glancing, you would never have known.
No,
wow.
Not at all.
Well, the mold test came back okay?
Yeah, mold test came back. We're actually going to have them come back 6 months later again, just to make sure.
Good idea.
Because we can't be too careful in that case. I mean, black mold is deadly. So,
and you can't see it because this was happening on the inside of the walls.
Exactly. Yep.
Scary.
Yep.
The blue tape walkthrough is so important, and I'm a lender, so I don't really ever go and see the homes and stuff like that, and I really don't want to know what's wrong with it. But that final walkthrough is so important, just to make sure, because once you sign your name, that house is yours.
Right.
So what's one thing that buyers need to know about buying a new build versus a resale?
Yeah, so there's a lot of benefits to new build. There's a lot of benefits to resale. I mean, it's really just weighing your pros and cons. Right now, what I think with new builds, they do come with home warranties already included as part of it. So even though you may have issues come up for that first year, they'll come through and they'll take care of whatever issues that may arise. So that's one of the big benefits that you can talk about whenever you're, gives you that peace of mind. No one's lived in it before. My wife is a clean freak. She doesn't really want to deal with somebody else's stuff. So she's like, when we bought our house, it needed to be new.
It needed to be new. It's like new car smell.
Yours.
No one has used anything. I totally get it.
Yep.
I totally get it. So thanks again for coming on and telling us about that.
Oh, yeah.
And you fortunately got to get the clients into their home, no mold. And you did mention that this was the longest transaction that you've ever been a part of.
Longest one. How long? Start to finish. Took 18 months from the day we signed the contract to the day my clients finally got their keys. It was as you had mentioned with, we were still dealing with some of the COVID stuff with the backlog and appliances and getting things ordered and contractors coming out and that thing. So it took 18 months.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
So anyone looking to be a realtor, let's put that in perspective. You spend a year and a half working with clients. You don't get paid till you're close.
That's right.
So that's a long commitment.
Yeah.
That's a long commitment. Well, Javier, thank you again so much for joining us. Any last words or advice before we sign off for a buyer?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super important to make sure that you're working with a team who you can trust. And it's very difficult to find that sometimes, especially if you're new in town. So I think if you're listening to this podcast, you're doing a good thing and you've found somebody that you can trust for sure. So you're on the right step if you're listening to this. So find the team you can trust and then trust their wisdom from that point moving forward. So.
Right. And I think one thing that could be a test to see if you're going to mesh and that this is a good team is what you had mentioned earlier is the communication.
Right.
If in the beginning you can't get a hold of your lender or your realtor or you're struggling just to get the information, that's a red flag.
Oh, yeah.
Huge red flag. And it's maybe time to interview other team members on your team.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have a few dad jokes to finish up.
And dad jokes.
Dad jokes.
Are they Mexican dad jokes?
I have no idea.
Okay, I guess we'll see.
How we do this is I have Andy just kind of randomly do it. So these are first for me. So let's see what we got. Oh my God. When does a joke become a dad joke?
I don't know.
When it becomes apparent.
Hey, there you go.
Thanks, Andy, because she's like, I'm running out of dad jokes. Why did the coach go to the bank?
Why did the coach go to the bank to get his quarterback?
Oh, my God, you've heard that one.
I've heard
Good
that
job.
one. Yes, ma'am.
I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to get his quarterback. Nice.
Yes, ma'am.
Hopefully a little bit more than just a quarter from the bank.
You'd hope.
Right? Javier Oloño.
Oloño, you got it.
Got
yes,
it.
Ma'am.
Licensed realtor in Southern Arizona, also bilingual too.
Yes, ma'am.
Helping a plethora of buyers and sellers, and has been doing it for 6 years. That's a good long tenure. So he's seen a thing or two. So if anyone wants a good realtor, please reach out. Our email is myfavemortgage@gmail.com. Also, to get pre-approved with a local lender is essential, so you can reach out to me. I am streaming on all platforms, and you can find us on TikTok, Facebook, Threads, everywhere. Let's see. Anything else? Nope. I think that's it. We're going to see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Bye.